I'm seeing this trend of people bringing back 2016 bomber jackets, ultra boosts, the freshman XXL cipher. This is me when I was 18, a young, naive boy with a bad haircut. At the time, I was a freshman in college and I had just gotten accepted to USC for astronautical engineering. From there, my life kind of took off and I went through so much character development. Life did not go smoothly and I made a lot of big mistakes. I mean, look at me now. But as a wise man once said, I've accumulated a lot of knowledge over the years. That's something an uncle would say. And this 2016 trend had me thinking, if I could go back and meet my 2016 self, what would I tell him? But before we do that, I think we need to go back inside because it's getting kind of hot out here. Okay, now that we're back inside, here are the 5 things that I would tell my 2016 self. I'm gonna have my phone here because I need my notes. I'm gonna start with number 1. Learn how to ask for help. You know, I had a pretty standard Asian kid upbringing, and so I had to learn how to do a lot of things by myself. This resulted in me becoming very, very hyper independent. See, the me back then would have rather struggled to learn how to do something instead of just asking how to do it. I only started really asking for help when I got to my first full-time job. And because of that, I struggled a lot. When you're an adult, especially in the corporate world, there's only so much you can learn how to do by yourself. And for me at the time, I was working in the medical device industry with a lot of regulations, a lot of paperwork that I didn't know how to do, or I did learn and then I forgot it really fast. But what was I gonna do? Not do my job, right? So I had to learn how to ask for help, and it was a very uncomfortable process because it was also a professional work setting. Healing childhood trauma at work. Learning how to ask for help is actually a strength because it requires humility, honestly. A lot of it came down to pride and not wanting to look incompetent. I think it's great to be able to know how to do things by yourself and be a competent person with a lot of skills. Through my hyper independence, I learned how to learn. And so I got really good at picking up new skills. But let's keep it real. Being hyper independent can make you seem cold to others or unapproachable. That's not really good for work either. And that's not really good in any setting, honestly. And 10 years later, I kind of struggle with this a little bit now. But would have been nice to start earlier. Number 2, it's okay to feel upset. I had to change the lighting situation and also change into shorts, but you can't really see that. Life is about balance, right? And so no one wants to see someone who's angry all the time, but it's okay to feel mildly upset about things or feel annoyed about things. You don't have to hide it all the time and try to make people think that you're okay. Because internalizing all these feelings is really tearing you down, and you either explode or you implode. That's what I believe. Both are really bad. Yes, you might have your outlets to release your emotions into some kind of activity, but even still, man, you're a human and you're not a robot, you know? So it's okay to just not be so stone-faced all the time. Your patience is a good thing, but then the people around you don't know how you ever really feel. Maybe that is a good thing. No, it's not a good thing. And on the contrary, it's okay to feel happy too and show that you're happy, because you never did that either. I'm talking to myself. Number 3, there is no such thing as a non-creative person. Back then, I really fell into the camp of left brain versus right brain. You have to be one. There's no room for anything else. And like I mentioned before, I was an engineer and I had strongly believed back then that my mind was meant for purely problem solving and doing math and science, and that I was incapable of forming opinions that were respectable or creating work that was respectable. Shout out to my art teacher in the 6th grade who traumatized me because she always called my art shit. And what's funny is that some people from that point in my life think of me as this really smart guy who, you know, got into an engineering program, sort of subscribed to that idea that, yeah, I'm like a very STEM oriented engineer kind of guy because that's how I presented myself. And that's what I believed of myself. So others started to believe it too. And it's crazy because people who met me later on in life, like in my mid to late 20s, see me as this really creative person. And it's like such a 180, right? There are certain people in my life that helped me break through this sort of trauma of thinking that I'm incapable of creating art or something that's worthy of consuming. And look at me now, I'm on YouTube and making TikToks, and you know what, like, what? But yeah, I'm a strong believer now that everyone has both, right? You can be a problem solver and a very, I guess, objective person, but you can also be someone who, yeah, it's creative. And I think creativity shows in different ways, right? It's not just being able to draw. Like, I can't draw for shit. When I was 18, I wanted to be an architect, and I found out you had to draw. I dropped that immediately. I still don't know how to draw. Yeah, but it shows in different ways, right? It shows in the way that you approach problem solving. It shows in the way that you approach conflict resolution, the way you approach your relationships with people. And to exist and to act within the world is to create. I'm not going to dive too deep into that, but that's what I believe. Number 4 is that perfectionism hinders growth. And I feel like there are a lot of people, you watching, you probably can relate to this a lot. I'm still such a perfectionist now that I almost didn't make this video or upload this video because I didn't plan it out super well. I was gonna skip this week's video. I might lose some production value in my videos, but the consistency and the growth that comes from posting every week is a lot more valuable to me than putting out a slightly better video, because at my skill level, I'm not able to put out a really amazing video. But yeah, as an 19-year-old in 2016, I was even worse. And it's funny because I was a perfectionist without really taking the steps to achieve perfection. As in, if I had to write an essay for school, I would skip writing the first and second draft so I wouldn't have to bring my essay to school and let other people read it. Instead, I would spend 20 straight hours working on my one final draft that I send in. I mean, that is a different issue, but it's sort of related. But yeah, I would never properly chase perfectionism, and I feel like that's a lot of us. Maybe not, maybe it's just me. As an adult, I'm a lot more disciplined, but I still try to chase this perfection in so many ways. And this isn't an original thought. Like, I feel like hundreds and thousands of people have said this online and in self-help books and in videos about improvement, whatever. Like, you can't chase perfectionism because it's not going to help you get any better. To get better, you have to put things out, whether it be at work or for yourself. You need to set time boundaries for yourself and not spend 15 hours on a video just for it to get less than 200 views. You can't obsess over doing things the right way all the time. And I feel like this kind of ties into the hyper independence. Yeah, it does a lot. There's levels to this, right? There's barely good enough, great, amazing, and perfect, right? And a lot of what you put out will be somewhere in the middle, statistically speaking. You ever heard of analysis paralysis? Yeah, I'm specialized in that. Learn how to get over your ego so you can actually get better. This is me talking to myself, by the way, but if it fits the bill, it fits the bill. And lastly, there is no such thing as being too kind or too nice, right? And this is something I heard a lot growing up, is that I'm too nice to people, and that it's gonna bite me in the butt later on in life. I understand the sentiment of those statements, but I think that there is a difference between being a kind person and being a pushover. The younger version of me was definitely a pushover to some degree. I didn't know how to live for myself or do things for the sake of my own good. I only knew how to do things for the sake of others. And being a pushover is not kind. It's quite the opposite, actually. And when you're a pushover, your relationships with other people never really feel equal. It almost becomes a burden for the people that care about you. And for the people that don't, you just continue to allow them to be terrible people that take advantage of people. But I will say that 2016 me was a very kind person, and I have to give myself credit for that. I think over the years, I've become a bit jaded to the world and things happening around me. 2016 me was the kind of guy that would, pay for the next person in line or, feed the homeless. It's not to say that I'm not that kind of person now. It's just, I think I get so caught up in my own world and my own life that I sort of forget to do these things every now and then. I think that's something I could do a lot more of, and I could learn from the old version of myself. But otherwise, yeah, man, stop letting people walk over you. You eventually learn to stand your ground and set boundaries and really not take people's bullshit. And people are not gonna like you for that, but that's okay, because if they're not happy for that growth, they just want the benefits of knowing you, and not actually caring about you as a person. Anyways, yeah, this video was a bit different from my normal stuff, but I've been trying to branch out into different kinds of videos, and I've also been a little sick this week, so I didn't really have time to film a lot of stuff happening in my life. Yeah, I got sick, and I've spent a lot of time just laying in bed, yearning for the outside, and thinking a lot and reflecting on all of these things. So this was a good way to let it out, and also kind of, I think it was a fun exercise to reflect on my old self from 2016. Maybe there's someone out there watching that can relate, or was in my shoes, right? Or is in my shoes. Maybe there's a young version of me out there somewhere, and maybe they need to hear these words. If you made it to the end, thank you for watching the video. I will see you in the next one. Oh, I'm flicking you off.